For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. We've all had practical experience of this, where the mind brings us down into depression and sadness, or the mind can bring us up into happiness and inspiration. But the question is, how can we utilize the mind and create habits and patterns of thinking that allow for our mind to be the greatest friend instead of our worst enemy? Well, the Bhagavad Gita explains that when we understand the different aspects and levels of our mind and who we really are, which is a spirit soul connected with the eternal spirit soul, that we can start to utilize our mind in a healthy, positive way. So I want to share a picture with you that is extremely helpful in understanding how this really works. Okay, so this picture right here is from the Bhagavad Gita, and it's called the chariot of the body. The 5 horses represent the 5 senses: the tongue, the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the skin. The reins, the driving instrument, symbolize the mind. The driver is the intelligence, and the passenger is the spirit soul. Now, it goes on to say, the individual is the passenger in the car of the material body. So this person here in the blue. The mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind. But the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence. As an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine, such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga. But such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. This is the purport from verse 34, chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Srila Prabhupada explains that the mind is actually a function of the intelligence that can be utilized by the intelligence. But as this picture is showing, in the conditioned state, in the worldly state, before we have knowledge of the distinction between the soul and the body, the senses are controlling the mind. And when the senses control the mind, we are dragged all over like wild horses are dragging us, our senses. We want this, we want to taste that, we want to touch this, we want to hear that. But and then we use our intelligence, or the senses use the intelligence to get what they want. But ultimately, there's never any satisfaction. The senses can never be satisfied. So what we have to consider is how to shift the use of our intelligence so that we are not taken over by the senses, but that the soul is directing the intelligence, and that the intelligence is using the senses to keep the body and soul together, to do what needs to be done. The senses help us perceive and understand and get the basic necessities of life, but that our actual identity, our actual satisfaction is going to come from the use of the intelligence by the soul, as opposed to the senses using the mind and the intelligence. So we have to shift and understand, what is the mind? What is the intelligence? Who are we? We are the eternal spirit soul, and we can utilize our mind and intelligence for our ultimate benefit. Our mind can be the best of friends or the worst of enemies, depending on how we use it. And the way to use it properly is to understand the distinctions and to understand who we truly are. I hope this video helps you understand the mind a little bit more and how to use it as your best friend. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, and I'll see you in the next video.